Hello, and welcome back to English After Coffee, the perfect podcast for your English learning journey. I'm James.
And I'm Rachel. We're so happy you're here with us today. Grab a warm drink, get comfortable, and let's talk.
So, Rachel, we're talking about winter today, and it makes me think of travel. You had a funny story, didn't you? A bit of a mini disaster?
Oh, a total disaster. Okay, so a few years ago, I went to visit my friend in Chicago in December. I'm from a warmer place, so I thought, a big coat, a scarf, I'll be fine.
The classic mistake.
Exactly. So we decide to go ice skating near the big Christmas tree. It's beautiful, lights everywhere, and it starts to snow. At first, I was so excited. I thought, oh, how romantic. Snow is falling. But it was not cute, fluffy snow. It was that cold, windy, wet kind of snow. My biggest problem? My shoes. I wore these stylish, thin leather boots. Definitely fashion boots, not snow boots.
Oh no, not the fashion boots.
My feet were completely soaked and frozen in about 5 minutes. Soaked means completely wet. I tried to be brave, for my friend, but eventually the pain was too much and I just had to say, I'm sorry, I can't feel my toes. We have to go inside right now. We rushed into a coffee shop and I spent the rest of the night wearing 2 pairs of my friend's giant, thick wool socks trying to get warm. It was not my most glamorous moment.
That sounds uncomfortable, but it's a perfect example of our topic today.
It really is. Today, we are talking all about traveling in winter, the good, the bad, and how to keep your toes warm.
And if you enjoy our conversations, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel, English After Coffee, and give this episode a like. It really helps us a lot.
Yes, please do. Okay, so let's start with common winter travel problems. For me, it was the wrong clothes. What about you, James?
For me, it's always about delays. Flights, trains, everything can be delayed because of bad weather, like snow or ice. Delayed means it's late. Your flight is not on time. I was once trying to fly home for Christmas and a big snowstorm hit. My flight was delayed, then delayed again, and finally canceled. It was chaos.
Right, that's a great vocabulary word, delayed. I was stuck in an airport for 6 hours once because the plane couldn't take off in the snow. It was so frustrating. What happened with your canceled flight? Did you get home for Christmas?
Exactly. I had to sleep on the floor near the gate. It was so uncomfortable. I ended up taking a bus the next day, and the whole journey took me 20 hours instead of 3. So my advice is, if you travel in winter, always have a backup plan, and maybe a good book to read while you wait.
Oh, what a nightmare. So what did you do? Did you get to go home for Christmas?
Oh, definitely. Another thing is driving. If you're planning a road trip, you have to be so much more careful in the winter. I drove through the mountains once in early spring, and a surprise snowstorm hit. The roads became so slippery and dangerous. It's really important to have the right tires on your car and to drive slowly.
Oh, that sounds scary. Were you by yourself?
No, thankfully I was with my brother, but it was still really frightening. We had to drive so slowly, maybe 20 miles per hour. The normal trip takes 2 hours, but it took us 5 hours that day. And we saw 3 cars that had slipped off the road. Slipped off means they lost control and went into the snow by the side of the road.
Oh my goodness, that must have been so stressful. That brings up another big problem I've experienced, not having the right equipment. And winter gear is so expensive. When I went to Norway the first time, I had to buy all new clothes. A good winter coat can cost $300 or more.
That's so true. And boots, gloves, hats, it all adds up quickly. Where did you end up buying your gear? Did you get it at home before the trip or when you arrived in Norway?
I tried to buy some things at home, but honestly, the selection wasn't great. I ended up shopping when I got to Oslo. But here's the problem, everything was even more expensive there. And it was hard to communicate with the shop assistants about what I needed. I kept trying to explain, I need boots for snow and ice, but my pronunciation was terrible. It took forever to find what I wanted.
Oh, language barriers can be so frustrating, especially when you really need something important like warm clothes. That reminds me of another winter travel problem I had, getting lost. This was before smartphones were common. I was visiting Prague in January, and all the streets looked the same with snow covering everything.
Oh no, what happened?
I wandered around for 2 hours in the freezing cold, getting more and more lost. I had a paper map, but it was getting wet from the snow. My phone battery died because of the cold. That's another thing people don't think about. Cold weather drains your battery much faster. I finally found my way back to the hotel, but I was exhausted and half frozen.
That's such a good point about phone batteries. I never thought of that. And you know what else is tricky? The different types of winter weather. Snow is one thing, but freezing rain is completely different. And then there's that really fine, powdery snow that gets into everything versus wet, heavy snow that soaks you immediately.
It's so boring, isn't it? Just waiting? Another problem, and this is a big one, is that some tourist attractions are closed in the winter, or they have shorter hours. You have to remember that. In summer, a famous castle might be open until 7 p.m., but in winter, it might close at 4 p.m. because it gets dark so early.
That's a good point. You have to check opening times before you go. So that brings us to packing. How do you pack for a cold trip without taking a giant suitcase?
The secret is layers, thin clothes that you can put one on top of another. For example, you might wear a t-shirt as your base layer, then a long sleeve shirt, then a sweater or sweatshirt, and finally your big winter coat on top. This way, if you go inside a warm cafe or a heated museum, you can take off a layer or two and you won't be too hot. But here's the thing I learned the hard way. You need to think about each layer carefully.
What do you mean? What did you learn the hard way?
Well, I once packed all cotton clothes for a trip to Canada in February. Cotton is comfortable, but when it gets wet from snow or sweat, it stays wet and cold. It's horrible. You want materials like wool or synthetic fabrics that dry quickly. Also, I brought way too many clothes that first trip. My suitcase was so heavy I could barely lift it.
I can totally relate to that. I'm always torn between overpacking and underpacking. One time I brought 3 heavy coats for a week-long trip to Scotland. 3! I thought, what if one isn't warm enough? What if it rains? What if I spill something? But then I couldn't fit anything else in my suitcase, and I only wore 1 coat the whole time.
And then there's the opposite problem. I once went to Vermont in December and tried to pack really light. I thought, I'll just wear my warmest clothes on the plane and pack almost nothing. Big mistake. I had only 1 pair of warm pants for a 5-day trip. When they got dirty, I had to do laundry, which is always such a pain when you're traveling.
Laundry while traveling is the worst, especially in winter when everything takes so much longer to dry. And speaking of things taking longer, let's talk about electronics. I learned to keep my phone and camera close to my body when it's really cold outside. If you leave them in a cold bag, they stop working.
That's so smart. I always carry extra battery packs now too because, like I mentioned before, cold drains batteries so fast. And another packing tip, bring multiple pairs of gloves. Not expensive ones, just cheap ones from the dollar store, because you will lose them. I lose at least 1 glove on every winter trip.
Layers are so smart. And thermal underwear. It's like a secret weapon against the cold. It's a very thin layer you wear under your clothes.
Totally. And like your story, Rachel, good shoes are important. Waterproof shoes are a must if there might be snow or rain. And warm socks. Never forget warm socks.
I learned my lesson. I also think it's important to try and travel light. That's a great phrase for our listeners. To travel light means you don't pack too many things.
It makes moving around so much easier. So we've talked about problems and packing. What about destinations? Where are good places to go in the winter?
Well, you can go 2 ways. You can embrace the cold or you can escape the cold.
Escape the cold. I like that idea.
Right? So if you want to escape the cold, there are so many amazing options. You could go to Southeast Asia, places like Thailand, Vietnam, or Malaysia. The weather is beautiful there in winter, usually around 80 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit. That's about 27 to 30 degrees Celsius for our international listeners. Or you could try the Canary Islands in Spain, or maybe Morocco in North Africa. I went to Morocco in February once, and it was perfect. Warm, but not too hot.
Morocco sounds incredible. What was your favorite part about that trip?
Oh, everything. I loved wandering through the markets in Marrakesh. They call them souks. That's the Arabic word for market. The colors, the smells, the sounds. It was like being in a completely different world. And the food. Fresh oranges, dates, tagines. After coming from cold, gray February weather at home, it felt like paradise. Plus, it was so much cheaper than European destinations in winter.
That sounds amazing. But sometimes escaping to warm places in winter can have downsides too. Like if you go to popular beach destinations during their high season, they can be incredibly crowded and expensive. And then when you come back home to winter, the contrast can be really depressing. Okay, but if you want to embrace the cold, what do you suggest?
I think cities in Europe are magical in winter. Places like Prague with its beautiful castles covered in snow, or Vienna with its elegant coffee houses and classical music concerts. But my absolute favorite are the German Christmas markets. Each city has its own character. Berlin's markets are big and modern, but smaller towns like Rothenburg have these tiny medieval markets that feel like stepping back in time. The smell of cinnamon and roasted almonds, the handmade crafts, the twinkling lights, it's pure magic.
You're making me want to book a trip right now. But what about the really cold places like Scandinavia or Russia? Have you ever been anywhere like that in winter?
Actually, yes. I went to Helsinki, Finland, in January a few years ago. It was negative 15 degrees Fahrenheit. That's about negative 26 Celsius. I know that sounds terrible, but it was actually incredible. The city has this amazing network of underground tunnels, so you can walk around without going outside. And they have these public saunas everywhere. You warm up in the sauna, then some crazy people even run out and jump in the frozen sea.
Did you try it? The sauna and frozen sea thing?
I did the sauna part, but I was too scared to run into the sea. Though I did meet some locals who do it every day, even in winter. They said it's the best feeling in the world. But one thing I learned about these really cold destinations is that you have to book your accommodation carefully. You want to make sure your hotel has good heating and is close to transportation.
That's true. Or you could go somewhere with mountains for winter sports, like skiing or snowboarding. Canada or Switzerland, for example.
Ooh, I love that idea, which leads to fun winter activities. Skiing is a great one. What else can people do?
Well, ice skating is fantastic. Many big cities have outdoor ice rinks in the winter. New York has the famous one at Rockefeller Center. London has several beautiful rinks, and even smaller cities often set up temporary rinks in their main squares. It's usually not too expensive, maybe $10 to $20, and it's so much fun. Even if you're not good at it, just being on the ice with the winter air and the lights around you is magical. Plus, there's usually hot chocolate nearby.
Ice skating is the best. But what about when the weather is really bad, like when there's a blizzard and you can't go outside at all?
That's when you need a good backup plan. I always research indoor activities before I travel. Libraries can be amazing. Many cities have beautiful, historic libraries that are free to visit. Shopping malls might sound boring, but some cities have incredible ones with unique stores, food courts with local specialties, even indoor gardens or art installations.
And don't forget about cultural activities that are special in winter, like going to the opera or a classical concert. There's something so cozy about sitting in a beautiful theater when it's cold and snowy outside. I went to a Mozart concert in Vienna in February, and afterwards we walked through the snowy streets. It felt like being in a movie.
That sounds beautiful. Now, what about winter sports? I know you mentioned skiing and snowboarding earlier. Have you tried any of those?
I tried skiing once in the Alps, and let me just say I spent more time falling down than actually skiing. It's much harder than it looks. But even though I was terrible at it, the mountain views were absolutely spectacular. And the après-ski culture, that means the socializing and food after skiing, was so much fun. Hot drinks, hearty food, people sharing stories about their day on the slopes.
You know what else I love about winter travel? The photography opportunities. Winter light is so different. It's softer, more dramatic, and snow makes everything look magical. I always take my camera when I go walking in winter, though you have to be careful about condensation when you go from cold outside to warm inside. The lens can fog up.
I agree. I'm not very good, but I enjoy it. Another simple activity is just walking. A walk in a snowy park can be so beautiful and peaceful.
Yeah, definitely. And visiting museums. It's a perfect indoor activity when the weather is really bad. You can stay warm and see some amazing art or history.
Of course. And after all those activities, you need some cozy winter food and drinks. This is my favorite part.
Mine too. For me, nothing is better than a hot chocolate after being outside in the cold, with cream on top.
Oh, yes. Mulled wine is amazing. It's that warm, spiced red wine you can get at Christmas markets all over Europe. They usually serve it in special ceramic mugs that you can keep as a souvenir. The smell of cinnamon, cloves, and orange peels, it just screams winter to me. But different countries have their own versions. In Scandinavia, they have glögg, which has almonds and raisins in it.
I love how every country has its own special winter drinks. What about food? You mentioned thick soups and stews. What are some other winter comfort foods you've discovered while traveling?
Oh, so many. In Germany, there's currywurst. It's sausage with curry sauce that's perfect when you're cold and hungry. In Poland, I tried pierogi. They're like dumplings filled with potatoes, cheese, or meat. So warming. And in Russia, there's borscht, which is a beetroot soup. It's bright red and comes with sour cream. It might sound strange, but it's incredibly comforting on a freezing day.
Those all sound delicious. You know, one thing I've learned is that cooking while traveling in winter can be really nice. If you stay in an apartment or hostel with a kitchen, making simple, warm meals can save money and be very comforting. And here's something people don't think about: staying hydrated. You don't feel as thirsty when it's cold, but you still need to drink lots of water, especially if you're active. And for food, I think of things like thick soups, stews, or fondue. You know, cheese fondue, where you dip bread into melted cheese. It's so warm and comforting.
That sounds amazing right now. I also love any kind of baked goods, like cinnamon rolls or apple pie. They make the whole room smell warm and cozy.
It does. Okay, but these trips can be expensive. Let's talk about budgeting. How can people save money on a winter trip?
Well, winter can actually be a cheap time to travel, but it depends on where and when you go. It's often the off-season for many beach destinations, so flights and hotels can be much cheaper. But the big exception is around Christmas and New Year. Those are some of the most expensive travel times of the year. Everyone wants to go somewhere for the holidays, so prices go crazy.
That's so true about Christmas and New Year. I made that mistake once. I tried to book a trip to Thailand for New Year's and the prices were 3 times higher than normal. But there are some smart strategies. Like, if you want to go skiing, the weeks right after New Year are often much cheaper than the holiday weeks, but the snow conditions are usually just as good.
Good point. And don't forget about hidden winter costs, like heating bills if you're staying in an apartment. Some places charge extra for heating in winter. And hot drinks. When it's cold, you end up buying so many coffees, teas, hot chocolates. It adds up quickly. I probably spent $200 just on hot drinks during a week in Prague.
$200 on hot drinks? That's crazy, but I totally understand. One thing I always recommend for winter travel is getting good travel insurance. Winter weather can cause so many delays and cancellations, and if you need medical help after slipping on ice or getting sick from the cold, it can be expensive. It's especially important if you're doing winter sports. Right. Traveling in January or February is usually much more affordable than in December.
Exactly. Also, you can save money on food. Instead of eating at restaurants for every meal, you can go to a supermarket and buy things for breakfast or lunch. And many winter activities, like walking in a park, are free.
Good tip. Also, look for city passes. Sometimes you can buy one ticket that gives you entry to many different museums and attractions, and it's cheaper than buying individual tickets.
Yes, those are great. Okay, what about a different kind of problem? The short daylight hours. It gets dark so early in the winter, especially if you go to northern countries. In places like Norway or northern Canada, there might be only 4 or 5 hours of daylight in December. How do you make the most of such a short day? 4 or 5 hours? That's so little. I can imagine it affecting your mood too. Do you ever feel sad or depressed when there's so little sunlight?
Oh, absolutely. It's called seasonal depression or SAD, seasonal affective disorder. It's very real. The lack of sunlight can make you feel tired and sad. That's why it's so important to get outside during whatever daylight there is, even if it's just for 20 minutes. And many hotels in those northern countries have special light therapy lamps you can use to help your mood. You have to plan a little. I try to do my outdoor activities like sightseeing or walking in the morning and early afternoon when there's light.
That's what I do. And then I save the indoor things like museums or shopping for the late afternoon when it's already getting dark.
And also, you can enjoy the evenings. Winter nights are perfect for cozy activities. You can go to a nice warm restaurant, see a show, or just relax in a cafe with a book.
That's true. The darkness can be cozy too, especially in a city with lots of beautiful lights. It can be very atmospheric.
It can. So, to finish up our conversation, do you have one memorable winter trip you can share? A really good one.
I think you should go first, James, after my shoe disaster story.
All right. A few years ago, I went to Iceland in February. It was incredible. So cold, but so beautiful. The landscape was just snow and ice and volcanoes.
Wow, did you see the northern lights?
Yes, we did. We went on a tour one night away from the city lights, and we saw them. Green and purple lights dancing in the sky. It was completely silent and just magical. It felt like being on another planet.
That sounds like a perfect memory, a really good reason to travel in the winter. What about you, Rachel? Besides the Chicago shoe incident, do you have a favorite winter travel memory? Haha, yes. Thankfully, I have better memories than just frozen toes. A few years ago, I visited the Christmas markets in Germany, specifically in Cologne. It was like stepping into a fairy tale. The cathedral was lit up against the dark sky, and there were these wooden stalls selling everything from handmade ornaments to roasted chestnuts. The whole city smelled like cinnamon and pine trees.
Oh, I've always wanted to do that. What was it like? Was it very crowded, and did you actually buy Christmas presents there?
It was crowded, but in a good way, like a joyful, festive crowd. Everyone was in such a good mood. And yes, I bought so many things. Little wooden toys, a beautiful scarf, some amazing cookies called Lebkuchen. They're like gingerbread, but even better. I also discovered glue wine, which is their version of mulled wine. I must have had 5 cups of it in one evening.
That sounds wonderful. It shows that winter travel doesn't have to be about escaping the cold. It can be about finding the beauty and joy in the season itself.
Exactly. And now my feet are much happier in proper snow boots.
Speaking of memorable trips, I have to share another one. Last winter, I went to Japan in February. I know it's not the most obvious winter destination, but it was incredible. I went to this place called the Snow Monkey Park, where you can watch wild monkeys relaxing in natural hot springs while snow falls around them.
Oh my goodness, I've seen pictures of that online. It looks so cute and peaceful. Did you get to try the hot springs yourself?
Yes, that was the best part. After watching the monkeys, I went to a traditional ryokan, that's a Japanese inn, and soaked in their outdoor hot spring while snowflakes fell on my head. It was one of the most relaxing experiences of my life. And the food. Japanese winter comfort food is amazing. Hot pot, warm sake, thick udon noodles in steaming broth. It was completely different from European winter travel, but equally magical.
It really is. Some things are only possible in the winter. Okay, I think that's a good place to pause. Let's do a quick recap of our tips.
Sounds good. So number 1, be prepared for problems like delays.
Number 2, pack smart. Use layers and wear good, waterproof shoes.
Number 3, choose a destination you'll love, whether it's warm and sunny or cold and snowy.
And number 4, enjoy winter activities inside and outside.
And number 5, plan your days to make the most of the sunlight and enjoy the cozy evenings. Excellent summary. Now, we would love to hear from you, our listeners.
Yes, please leave a comment below this episode. We have 2 questions for you. You can answer one or you can answer both.
Question 1 is, do you like to travel in winter? You can start your sentence with, yes, I like winter travel because, Or, no, I don't like winter travel because.
And question 2 is, what is a popular winter food or drink in your country? You can start with, in my country, a popular winter food is...
We look forward to reading your answers. It's always great to hear from listeners all over the world.
It is. Well, that's all the time we have for today. We hope this conversation was helpful for your English listening practice.
Remember, learning a language is a journey. Be patient with yourself and try to have fun.
And don't forget to subscribe to English After Coffee so you don't miss our next episode.
Thanks for listening. Until next time, goodbye.
Bye, everyone. Stay cozy.